Good evening, Sir Randy. Hindi tayo pinapansin. Ano tayong pansinin? Kahit si Miss Monina, ayokong pansinin. Wala ka pa rin audio, Miss Monina. Good evening, Miss Sylvia.
Good evening, ate. At sa lahat, good evening.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, brothers and sisters.
Good evening po.
Welcome to our session this evening. Okay, good evening, brothers and sisters. So welcome to our session this evening. So today is March 4, 2021, Thursday evening. So the sixth sessions of our 21 days online Divine Principle lecture. So to officially start this, let us sing our Chun Ilgok anthem. I would like to ask Sister Munina to play our Chun Ilgok anthem. Okay, I'd like to ask Sister Relina for the opening prayer.
Good evening. Please join me in prayer. Good evening once again, our most loving Heavenly Parents and true parents of heaven, earth, and mankind. Heavenly Father, today we are about to start our 6-day session of the 6 months of the 21 day mm, divine principle called online divine principle lecture series. Father, we pray that you open our hearts, uh, the hearts of the participants of the 6 batch, so that they would be able to understand more deeply your words, Heavenly Father, about the last days, eschatology and its meaning, and on how they are going to improve their life of faith as they go to their journey into the matching and to the blessing, Heavenly Parents, so that we through us through this new to these young people, we can expand, Heavenly Father, the providence, and that all people, the 7.8 billion people, can return back to you, Heavenly Father, through our example and model as we pioneer them. Since, Heavenly Father, we are still very few, but through our unity, through our efforts, and through our obedience and belief in our true mother that is now leading the providence, we could truly expand this and that we could substantiate the resolution and of our true mother for 2027 to restore one third of the 7.8 million people. Heavenly Father, we also ask for the guidance so that to our lecturers and staff so that the lecturers could be your mouthpiece, Heavenly Father. And we pray this and report this in the names of Ray and Relina Dolendos and Purpose Family. Acho.
Thank you, Sister Regina. So at this point, please open your
Sound
camera
sound check. Sound check. Sound.
for
Okay.
picture
Ito
taking.
pala. Excuse.
Hello.
Sound check. Sound check.
Okay, may inayos lang konti. Okay, please open your...
Later na lang yung picture taking ko ya.
Okay. So, okay na si Sister Munina?
Yeah. Pag second lecture po.
Anong,
Timonens, okay ka na? Kumusta ka? Pwede ka na pumunta dito.
Okay,
Okay yung microphone mo.
Okay. So, again, good evening,
Ikaw,
everyone. So, this evening, we'll be having our lecture on Chapter 3 of the Divine Principle,
Sounds.
which is Eschatology and Human History. So, the first 3 sections will be lectured to us by our Sister Monina Balanay. So, she is a full-time member at the headquarters. So, her previous mission was an attendant to our regional director in Asia Pacific, Dr. Reverend Julius Malikdim. And recently, she is an attendant to the 2 vice presidents of the Southeast Asian region. So, without further ado, let us welcome our sister Munina Balanay.
Thank you so much po, Kuya Julius po. Good evening, elders, leaders, brothers, and sisters. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just allow me to share my screen. Nakikita po ba?
Wala pa. Ayan, meron na.
Wait lang. Saan na natin? Okay. Wait. Paano nga yun? Sorry. Like this.
Okay
Good
lang ka?
evening, okay po. Good evening once again, leaders, brothers, and sisters. Good evening. So our topic for this evening is the chapter 3, Eschatology and the human history. So in the previous chapter, we discussed about the chapter 1, the purpose of creation. So we talked about the purpose of creation and the original value. And then the chapter 2 is about the root of sin or the fall of our first ancestors. So this evening, we begin with from the Merriam-Webster eschatology, the definition of eschatology, a branch of theology concerned with the final events in the history of the world or of humankind. Then another one, a belief concerning death, the end of the world, or the ultimate destiny of humankind. Specifically, any of various Christian doctrines concerning the second coming, the resurrection of the dead, or the last judgment. So, yan yung ano nang sa Merriam-Webster. So, then, what would happen if don't have fall, if hindi nagkaroon ng fall? What do you think, brothers and sisters? Diba? Kung walang fall, so supposedly wala na sana tayo dito ngayon, hindi na tayo mag-continuous pag lecture or we could not do this like because we already complete or we could be already perfect like that. Then but because of the our first ancestors na because of the fall, so still nandito tayo ngayon to continue this and to study more. Ouch. Wait lang. Okay. In chapter 3, we study about this eschatology and human history or after the fall, nagkakaroon tayo ng zero ignorance. Tama? So, we dwell in ignorance of history concerned uncertain about its origin, the direction in which it is heading and its final destination. So, yun siya. So, dito tayo sa human history. 'Di ba? If we study about the history, if sino yung mahilig sa history, 'di ba? So, dito natin malalaman kung saan tayo galing at saka yung final destination natin. Okay. So, concerning eschatology or the doctrine of the last days, many Christians believe literally what is written in the Bible. 'Di ba if we base in the Bible, 'di ba maraming sayings doon or maraming mga verses that it says itself that heavens will be kindled and dissolved and the elements will melt with the fire. In 2 Peter 3 verse 12. And the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. So in Thessalonians 4 verse 16 to 17. Another one pertinent question for Christians is whether these events will take place literally or whether the verses are symbolic as the many parts of the Bible. So, yan yung talaga yung thinking before kung itong nakasulat sa Bible na to, if it's literal ba talaga or symbolic, 'di ba? Then so the purpose talaga the Bible the purpose is to address this issue, we should first understand such fundamental matters as the purpose of God's creation. So the meaning of the human fall and the goal of the providence of restoration. So ito yung from the Bible itself that yung the purpose talaga of creation, we should dapat talaga natin siya or we should understand first yung mga yung nakaano sa Bible. What is the purpose of God's creation? Then yung meaning ng the human fall. Then lastly is the goal of the providence of restoration. So to begin with, in section 1, the completion of God's purpose of creation and the human fall. So ano ba talaga yung ano natin? What is our purpose or what is the God's purpose of creation? Why God created us? So yun yung ano talaga curious yun yung tanong nga bakit talaga tayo na ano ni God, create ni God? Anong purpose natin why we are here in this earth? So a person has emotional sensitivity to the heart of God, intuition and reason to comprehend his will and the requisite abilities to practice it has perfected his individual character. So this ito yung first natin is yung first goal ni God nga ma-complete na yung kanyang purpose is as individual nga magkaroon tayo ng unity or magkaroon tayo ng parang vertical connection to God. So, yung mind natin at saka yung body natin magkaroon siya ng magkaroon ng unity o magkaroon tayo ng unity as mind and body. So, and then followed by our individual perfection. So magkaroon tayo ng unity with God and at the same time mind and body to unite as well. So magkaroon tayo ng perfect or individual perfection. Ito yung first na purpose ni God. Second, if we are perfect already as individual, so magkaroon tayo ng create tayo or mag-build tayo ng family. As we had Adam and Eve reach perfection, they would have born good children. So kung yung first good children and founded a sinless family and society in complete concordance with God and founded a sinless God's blessing. They would have founded one great family with the same parents. So if magkaroon tayo ng if our first ancestors Adam and Eve nagkaroon ng unity, if hindi pa sila nag-fall, if they have a unity or dumaan na tayo sa perfect individual, right? So if Adam and Eve nagkaroon ng unity as maturity, centering on God, centering on our one parents, di ba? So magkaroon tayo ng family perfection. Ito yung second na purpose ni God creation. Then lastly, if we are already perfect as individual and then build a family, then magkaroon tayo ng parang perfection of dominion as a people or magkaroon tayo ng parang give and take ng all things or yung create ni God is if napahalagan pa natin or nagkaroon tayo ng unity, so ito yung tinatawag na perfection of dominion. So this is the completion of God's purpose of creation. Yung first, individual perfection. Then, second, family perfection. Third, perfection of dominion. So, people or perfected character should advance science and create an extremely pleasant social and living environment as perfection of dominion. So, parang to take of all things with each other. So, yun yung siya no, yung sa, ito yung ibig sabihin ng yung goal ni ultimate goal ni God, yung purpose niya talaga magkaroon tayo ng individual perfection, second family perfection, and perfection of dominion. Ito. Let's proceed. So the kingdom of heaven on earth is where such an ideal is realized. God's purpose of creation is to build the kingdom of heaven first on earth. So because of the fall, if we recall about the chapter 2, the human fall, the consequences of the human fall, yung creation na ano ni God, yung goal ni God nga magkaroon tayo ng mag ma-restore niya yung I mean, yung if hindi nagka-fall yung first ano natin, ancestors, so magkaroon ta natin ng kingdom of heaven here on earth. Then because of the fall, so nagkaroon tayo ng centering kay Satan. So as individual, nagkaroon tayo ng evil nature. So yung mind and body natin, like some example, yung mind and body natin, very ano lang siya, very basic example. As in our individual or we are in our family. So if yung first talaga is yung maturity natin or yung ano natin as siblings. If lagi tayo aaway or lagi tayong nagkaroon tayo ng what you call this, or yung jealousy natin. So isa din yan sa mga evil nature. So yung gina-apply natin like that nga every what you call this, every if we practice that in our family, so yung ano natin kay Satan tayo. Then second, nagkaroon tayo ng evil family. So as Adam and Eve, because of the fall, so nagkaroon ng evil family. So yung children natin centering on Satan. Then last one, as a people or as a human beings, nagkaroon tayo ng satanic dominion. So so due to the fall, human beings united with Satan and became his dwelling places, acquiring an evil nature. So people with evil nature have propagated evil through their children, constituting evil families, evil societies, and evil world. Example, yung ano natin ngayon, example, yung pandemic, di ba? We have a lot of we have a lot of yung pinagdaanan natin in the year 2020, di ba marami siya mga parang katalagman, like flood, pandemic. So, isa yan siya sa mga sa mga parang pinakita nga parang end of the na talaga siya. Yung parang Satan na talaga yung tawag dito, kung sa Bisaya pa naghari. So, this is the hell on earth in which we have been living. We have established the sovereignty of Satan. So, paano natin to siya nga mabalik tayo kay God? So, paano natin siya, what should we do nga para magkaroon tayo ng kingdom in heaven on earth? So, paano tayo maging mahibalik sa Kanya as children? Okay, let's proceed. Continue. And section 2, God's work of salvation. So, God's work of salvation is the providence of restoration. God intended to create a world of goodness and experience from it the utmost joy, yet due to the human fall, the world came to be filled with sin and sorrow. So, ito yung ni God, nga, ang intent ni God na mag-create yung goodness, world of goodness, and ma-experience natin yung utmost joy, happiness, or yung joy and happiness as ang tawag nito, if na-fulfill natin yung responsibility natin. But due to the fall, because of the fall of our first and sisters, the world came to be filled with sin and sorrow. Um, Magkaroon tayo yun ng um, kalimat ko sa sin, yung kasakit at saka yung kasalanan natin. If this sinful world were to continue forever in its present state, then God would be an omnipotent and ineffectual God who failed in His creation. Therefore, God will save this sinful world by all means. So dapat ito talaga yung ano ni God nga mahibalik yung ano niya, yung creation niya mahibalik sa kanya kasi 'di ba si God created us, 'di ba? So, yun yung ano ni God nga yun, magkaroon tayo ng world of goodness. So to save a person suffering under the yoke of sin means to restore him to his original sinless state. So magkaroon tayo dapat ng, di ba nag-ano tayo sa fall? So para mahibalik tayo, we're so blessed because um, God wants to really restore His providence of restoration. Iyon ang ano niya. In other words, God's work of salvation is the providence of restoration. In the last days, chapter 3, yan yung tinatawag na, what is the last days? So the meaning of the last days, ano ibig sabihin ng last days? If you say last days is, ito na ba ang katapusan ng mundo? Parang something like that. Right? So, the last days is this time when, with the advent of Messiah as the turning point, hangganan, the evil world under satanic sovereignty is transformed into the ideal world under God's sovereignty. Yan siya. Ito yung turning point dito. Nga magkaroon tayo ng matapos yung evil world nga maging transform tayo doon sa God's sovereignty. Hell on earth will be transformed into the kingdom of heaven on earth. So yun. So this time we're so blessed and lucky because we know about the principle, right? So therefore, it will not be a day of fear when the world will be destroyed by global catastrophes. As many Christians have believe, in fact, it will be a day of joy. When the cherished hope of humankind, the desire of the ages will be realized as today is the last days. So, hindi ibig sabihin no nga eschatology is maguna ng tawag nitong maguna na yung mundo. So parang ito yung natin kasi ito yung turning point nga magkaroon tayo ng kingdom of heaven on earth. So, parang ito yung way natin kung ano ba yung magawa natin nga if we're what you call this? If we're qualified ba nga magkaroon tayo na if we're qualified to be to turn back to God. Di ba? Parang ganon. So, this time, I prepare something, some clips. Hope you like it. Okay, I would like to minimize. So, that's my, actually, this is my end of my topic these days. Okay, natita. So, Bible, there's a meaning in the Bible verses. It says that, what is the meaning of the prophecy? That the heavens will be kindled and dissolved, and the elements will melt with fire. So, and Peter 3 verse 12, in the last days. So, ano na yun? Yung ibig sabihin ng heavens will be kindled and dissolved, and the elements will melt with fire. So, hindi ibig sabihin nun nga, para magsunog o mag-fire. Hindi siya ganoon. So, magkaroon natin yung yung pagka-satanic natin or pagka-evil lang as individual natin, magiging turning siya in a good um, good as a human. So it is written, "Is not my word like fire, says the Lord." And Jeremiah 23, verse 29. Therefore, judgment by fire represents judgment by the word of God. The air mentioned in Thessalonians 4, verse 17 does not refer to the sky over our heads. In the Bible, earth is often a symbol for the fallen world under the sway of evil sovereignty, while heaven is often a symbol for the sinless world of good sovereignty. Yun siya. Yung air is belongs siya sa heaven, sinless world of good sovereignty. While the fallen world under evil sovereignty, ito yung earth. Meeting the Lord in the air means that the saints will receive the Lord in the world of good sovereignty when Christ comes again and restores the kingdom of heaven on earth by defeating the kingdom of Satan. Ayan. So thank you very much. Before I conclude, so I prepare some clip. Hope you understand. Um, wait lang for a while. Hope makita ko siya. Ito siya. Wait lang po. Salit lang po. Let me share my screen. Yeah. Just listen carefully.
They will ask for terms. They must ask for terms.
Convert to Islam. Repent later.
You've taught me a lot about religion, Your Eminence.
Will you yield the city?
Before I lose it, I will burn it to the ground. Your holy places, ours, every last thing in Jerusalem that drives men mad.
I wonder if it would not be better if you did. You will destroy it?
Every stone, and every Christian knight you kill will take 10 Saracens with him. You will destroy your army here and never raise another. I swear to God that to take this city will be the end of you.
Your city is full of women and children. If my army will die, so will your city.
You offer terms, I ask none.
I will give every soul safe conduct to Christian lands. Every soul. The women, the children, the old, and all your knights and soldiers, and your queen. Your king, such as he is, I leave to you, and what God will make of him. No one will be harmed. I swear to God.
The Christians butchered every Muslim within the walls when they took this city.
I am not those men. I am Salahuddin. Salahuddin.
Then under these terms, I surrender Jerusalem.
Assalamu alaikum.
And peace be with you. What is Jerusalem worth?
Nothing. Everything.
I have surrendered Jerusalem. All will be safely escorted to the sea. If this is the kingdom of heaven, let God do with it as he wills. Your brother's kingdom was here and here. That kingdom can never be surrendered.
So, yun yun no, siya, brothers and sisters, no? So, if we really understand this movie, The Kingdom of Heaven, so, dito natin nakikita yung nature ng tao, 'di ba? If we united as one, if hindi tayo nagkakaroon ng like barriers or any 'di ba? If nasa ano tayo sa lalabas tayo, if we don't know the principle, ang sa isip natin is okay, we are stay in this religion because if you stay in this religion nga ito yung dito ka ng religion na to kasi dito ka ma-save. But if we have a mindset that we could be able to really unite centering in our one God, so dito natin makikita yung unity as individual, as maturity, and magkaroon tayo ng ma-complete yung purpose ni God. So yun yung ano siya, yun yung main nga reason nga magkaroon tayo ng one in heart, centering on our centering in our central figure or centering in our leader. Dapat magkaroon tayo ng proper as use at the same time magkakaroon tayo ng parang proper reporting, especially in mostly of our participants are is applying for the um, matching or the blessing. So yun lang po yung ano ko topic for tonight. Thank you so much po for listening. Hope you get some points or hope you understand more. So yun, at this moment, I would like to welcome for my partner for the continuation of our topic, the chapter 3. He will be discussing the section 4 and section 5. Other than our elder brother, the blessed of our 30,000 couples, a blessed of Japanese, no other than kay Julius Esqueleto. Please welcome. Please give a hand, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Sister Monina. Okay, first I will share my screen. Okay na po ba? Kita nyo na? Hello?
Yes po, Kuya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes po, Kuya. Na ako po.
Okay, good evening once again, brothers and sisters. So this evening I'll be continuing the lecture. So we'll be discussing section 4, the last days and the present days. So, but before that, I will have a little review with the earlier sections. So earlier, we know that God's purpose of creation is to build the kingdom of heaven on earth through the fulfillment of the three great blessings. And God would have felt an utmost joy seeing the completion of his creation. But because of the fall, instead of realizing the kingdom of heaven, hell on earth had been realized. So instead of establishing God's sovereignty, it was Satan's sovereignty. So God's work of salvation is to restore this world of sin into a world of goodness. So meaning God's work of salvation is the providence of restoration. So the last days is the time when, with the advent of the Messiah as the turning point that could transform this hell on earth into the kingdom of heaven on earth. So there has been Bible passages that this world will be destroyed. But in fact, it will be a day of joy when the cherished hope of humankind and the desire of the ages will be realized. So today is the last days. So now let's start with the signs of the restoration of the first blessing. So we can deduce that today is in fact the last days by examining the various circumstances of the present age. We can recognize in these circumstances the restoration of the three great blessings, which God has purposed in his providence of restoration. The first blessing is perfection of individual character. So just like what I have said earlier, so when a person have this emotional sensitivity towards the heart of God, intuition and reason to comprehend his will, and has these capabilities to practice it, has perfected his individual character. Or in other words, if you look at this charts, when an individual's mind and body enters into a give and take action centered on God, then this individual attend oneness with God, one in heart with God. So first, the spirituality of fallen people is being restored. So we know that prior to the fall, Adam and Eve could directly communicate with God, even though they are not quite perfect. Yes or no? But because of the fall, this uh, communication was cut off. So nowadays, many people can communicate with the spirit world. And even some have this revelation that you are the Lord. So it is just like uh, in, uh, in, in that stage or that prior to the fall. And this has been God's promise that in the last days, in Acts chapter 2, verse 17, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, that your young men, that your sons and daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. So we can see that the spirituality of fallen people is being restored. So nowadays that we have this profusion of spiritual happenings, phenomena, that now people can communicate with the spiritual world. So that's number one. So second is freedom of original mind. So due to the fall, man has been under the dominion of Satan, and we have been deprived of our freedom to go back to God. It has been restricted. But nowadays, no, we can freely go back to God. If you look at example in other countries, in communist countries, where they deny the existence of God, and many people, religious people, they're doing underground to practice their faith, even at the rest of their lives. So meaning the freedom of the original mind, no, in these days had been restored. So this is another sign. Third, the true human value, or the restoration of the true human value of fallen people, is another sign. So again, because of the fall, we lost our original value. So nowadays, we can see, because of the course of the providence of restoration in especially in democratic society, okay, it has been manifested in the liberation of slaves, okay, liberation of minor powers, those who had been colonized by major powers. And now many are advocating equality between sexes and equality among people. So this is another sign that the restoration of our true human value had been restored. Okay, the last but not the least, original true love in fallen people is being restored. So again, due to the fall, this vertical love was cut off. So it has, as a result also, it has uh, severed also our horizontal love among the people. So that's why human history had been interwoven with struggles, because it is not centered on vertical love, centered on God, but based on self-centeredness. So nowadays, we can see this humanitarianism, no, to promote human welfare. So living for others. So now we can see that, sorry, that this original love, okay, had been restored, and it's another sign. So from this, we can see that the present time is in the eve of the last days, when we can reach perfection of individual character. So this is the first blessing, signs of the restoration of the first blessing. Second, signs of the restoration of the second blessing. So God's second blessing was for Adam and Eve to form a family, society, and world where goodness reigns. Accordingly, the signs of the internal and external restoration of God's sovereignty signify the restoration of the second blessing. These are manifested as trends in the history of the development of cultural spheres and in the history of the rise and fall of nations. So, second blessing was for Adam and Eve, or perfected Adam and Eve, joined in loving oneness as husband and wife, centered on God, then you would have formed this God's ideal family and expand to a society, nation, world where goodness reigns. So we know that the ultimate um, establishment of this is the kingdom of heaven. So if we say kingdom of heaven, this is God's sovereignty. So accordingly, the signs of internal and external restoration of God's sovereignty signify also the restoration of the second blessing. So these are manifested. So this is internal restoration of God's sovereignty. So development manifested in the history of the development of cultural spheres, and in the history for external um, restoration of God's sovereignty in the history of the rise and fall of nations. So the history of the development of the cultural sphere. So let us first study the history of the development of the internal cultural sphere. So God has sent prophets and saints to fallen humanity to found religions. So he works to develop them through the original minds of those who seek goodness. So in this way, God builds up cultural spheres based upon religions. So many religions have left their mark on history. So among them, the religions were with the greatest influence formed cultural spheres. The major cultural spheres which have existed at various times in world history numbered between 21 and 26. With the flow of history, lesser cultural spheres were absorbed or merged into a more advanced spheres. So through the evolution of cultural spheres, as they were buffeted by the rise and fall of nations, four great cultural spheres have survived to the present days. The Asian or East Asian sphere, the Hindu sphere, the Islamic sphere, and the Christian sphere. So the current trend has these four spheres forming one global cultural sphere based on Christian ethos. So before it has been 21 to 26 um, major cultural spheres, but those who are lesser um, lesser ones had been merged or absorbed by the more advanced spheres. So um, now the trend from this 20 to 21 to 26 becomes 4, and the trend now they will form one global cultural sphere based on Christian ethos. So next, let us look at the external history of the rise and fall of nations. So the purpose of history must be to cut our ties with Satan and restore God's sovereignty of goodness. So in order to achieve the purpose of the providence of restoration, history must go through the process of wars and divisions. So the wars which have shaped the rise and fall of nations are thus unavoidable during the course of the providence to reestablish the reign of good. This history of conflicts among nations has served the purpose of cutting off ties, Satan's ties to humankind. History has progressed to the point where God's side can now reclaim territories and wealth all over the world. The providence to reclaim people began from lone individuals called by God. God Foundation has progressively expanded to families, societies, and nations, and today has reached the world level. So wars, um, these wars have shaped the rise and fall of nations, and thus unavoidable. It is during this course or providence of restoration to reestablish the reign of goodness. So it is also for this reason that God can claim no territories and wealth. So God's foundation now has progressively expanded to families, societies, nation, and now reached to the world level. So signs of the restoration of the second blessing. So internally at present, all races and peoples are increasingly coming to stand side by side as brothers and sisters under the love and guidance of Jesus Christ. So therefore, externally, at present, our world is divided into two. The democratic world, who seeks to create societies on God's side, and the communist world, which has been establishing regimes on Satan's side. So these opposing forces are at the point of intersection. So hence, the present age is the last days, because the second blessing is being restored. So now, on the third blessing, signs of the restoration of the third blessing. So the third blessing means gaining dominion over the natural world. So internal dominion denotes the dominion of heart, and external dominion denotes proper mastery of the creation through science and um, technology. So for internal dominion, a person who reaches perfection and comes fully to resonate with God in heart will experience God's heart as his own reality. Hence, he will be able to love the creation with the same love as that which emanates from God's heart, and appreciate its beauty with the same delight as God. This is the meaning of dominion of heart. So when we could be able to love the creation with the same love uh, which emanates from God's heart, and appreciate its beauty with the same delight as God. So this is the true meaning of the dominion of heart. And for external dominion, had our first ancestors reached perfection and attained internal dominion over the creation, able to love it with the same heart as God, then their sensibility to the spiritual dimension of creation would have developed to the highest degree. This would have stimulated the advancement or the rapid advancement of science. So if we attend that level of um, internal uh, dominion over the creation with the same heart as God, then also our spiritual um, sensibility toward the dimension of creation would have also developed to the highest degree. So that from that state that we could also bring about advancement of science. So internally, God's providence of restoration through religion, philosophy, ethics, and so forth has gradually elevated the spirituality of fallen people toward God. In modern world, there is evidence that people are regaining the worthiness to govern the creation through heart. So that's providence of restoration through religion, philosophy, or ethics. So has gradually elevated our spirituality. And not only that, also those foundation of heart laid by those prophets, sages who founded this religion, and those righteous people, that also um, bring about this elevation of our spirituality and intellect. So that's why in our time now, there is evidence that people are regaining the worthiness to govern the creation through heart. And externally, modern people have built an extremely comfortable and pleasant living environment through the economic progress that has accompanied scientific development. So we know that uh, the ultimate purpose of the completion of God's purpose of creation is to build the kingdom of heaven on earth. And if we have this environment of uncomfortable and unpleasant living environment, then that would not be a kingdom of heaven. So this also in tandem, this advancement of science for to build this comfortable and pleasant living environment for everyone, to for us to see that uh, this is really the kingdom of heaven. So to summarize, the world's cultural spheres are converging toward one global cultural sphere based on one religion. Concurrently, nations are moving toward forming a world government centered on the United Nations. So, in the sphere of economics, the world is moving in the direction of establishing one international market. Highly developed transportation and communication technology have overcome the separation of time and space. So people today can travel and communicate with each other almost as if they were all living in the same village. People of all races can meet with one another as easily as if they were members of a large family. Hence, we can understand that God has been restoring the environment where humanity can find and attend the returning Lord. So um, now we can understand that God's providence of restoration is preparing this environment that we could attend the Lord, the returning Lord. So everything uh, is uh, inclining so that we could find and attend the Lord of the second advent. So the cultural spheres, the economic in economics also. So because we are one family under God. So the advancement of science, now that we can travel and communicate with each other, just like we are living in one village. And just like yeah, we can meet easily uh, as just like members of large family. So this is God's work of bringing everyone uh, to find and attend the returning Lord. Okay, now we are on section 5, the last days, the new truth, and our attitude. So if we look at the chart here, so God assists ignorant fallen people to elevate their spirituality and enlighten their intellect through spirit and truth. So by this means, God conducts his providence of restoration to restore people to the original state before the fall. So spirit and truth are unique, eternal and unchanging. However, the degree and scope of their teaching and the means of their expression will vary from one age to another as they restore humankind from a state of utter ignorance. So, for example, for the people before the Old Testament age, so God did not directly provide them with the truth because their spirituality and intellect were very low. So instead, God just um, provided, or God asked them merely to offer sacrifices. So in the course of time, in Moses' time, now God could directly give the words because also of the elevation of their spirituality and intellect. So God could give the Ten Commandments, the law. And in the time of Jesus, the gospel. So modern, in our time now, therefore, for modern intellectual people to realize the truth, a text with richer content and a more scientific method of expression is needed. So this is the new truth. So there, there have been many or some Bible verses that Jesus Christ wanted to share to his disciples, but because of the level of their spirituality and intellect, they cannot bear for those that he wanted to share. For example, in uh, John chapter 3, verse 12, Jesus said, I have told you of, if I have told you of earthly things and you do not believe, how can you believe if I tell you heavenly things? So he died on the cross without being able to teach all that was in his heart due to the disbelief of the people of his time. And also, what is more, Jesus added, I have yet many things to say to you, but you cannot bear them now. In John chapter 16, verse 12, disclosing how sorrowful he was about the inability of even his closest disciples to receive all that he wanted to share. And Jesus promised that in the last days, he will give us the new word of truth. I have said this to you in figures. The hour is coming when I shall no longer speak to you in figures, but tell you plainly of the Father. So that's why we can understand that um, in Christianity alone, there have been many denominations because Jesus Christ wanted to share many things, but because of their level of spirituality and intellect, they cannot bear from on that time. And that's why he said, I have said this to you in figures, the hour is coming. So this is the time now that he could plainly speak the truth, not in parables, symbols, metaphors, but tell you plainly of the Father. So, and what should be our attitude in the last days? A new dispensation begins when the old dispensation is about to end. Meaning, not totally end, but a new dispensation is now begins. So That's why our attitudes that we should not be strongly attached with those conventional beliefs. Okay. So in this period, those who live in this period suffer internally from anxiety, fear, and confusion due to the absence of guiding ideology or philosophy. It is because when your spirituality and intellect were elevated to some degree, you want to find appropriate teaching that could satisfy that inner longings. And many people now cannot cannot find, or it's because of the absence of this guiding ideology. So they are confused. They have these ideals in their hearts, but they cannot find the appropriate uh, guidance that could satisfy their hearts. So that's why they suffer internally anxiety, fear, confusion. And externally, they suffer also from strife or battles fought with for some weapons. So because our wars now is not about just like guns and rifles, but now it is weapons of mass destruction where small city can be annihilated by just one bomb. So I saw a movie before that those who thinks about future wars, that they make condominium not going up but going down underground, so they can be safe when nuclear wars will happen. So they make condominium down under, so not vertical up. So because they suffer from these fearsome weapons in our times. So that's also added to the suffering of the people in this era. It is because of the absence of this guiding ideology and philosophy. So, but in the midst of such prisoners, God without fail will establish the center of the emerging God's sovereignty in order to usher in a new age. That's why we should not, our attitude in the last days, we should not strongly attach to conventional concepts, but rather should direct ourselves to be receptive to the Spirit in order that we may find a new truth which can guide us to the providence of the new age. So we have models, template, the disciples of Jesus Christ. No? They, they just follow spiritually their longings in their hearts. That's why they are not strongly attached to those conventional concepts, the Old Testament, but just follow spiritually their hearts. So that's why they can follow Jesus. That should also be our attitude. That direct ourselves to be receptive to the Spirit in order that we may find the new truth which can guide us to the providence of the new age. That's why in Luke chapter 5, verse 38, uh, it is written, it is said, new wine must be put into fresh wineskin. So we have to be receptive to this. And if we are people of conscience, people who are prayerful, can really be guided. So with humble heart, can really be guided to this era where we can find this new truth, which can guide us to the providence of the new age. Thank you, everyone. That's all. That ends my lecture this evening. And thank you for listening. Aju.
Aju. Yes, thank you so much po, Kuya Julius Escleto, for that amazing lecture. So, ano na natin, na-clarify na po ba natin kung ano yung last days or what our attitude in the last days. So, for this, before we proceed for the questions and answer portion, I would ask from the participants who wants to share their reflection. Sinong may voluntary heart na first magbigay ng reflections from the participants? Please, reminders pala, please open your camera so that we can able see your beautiful faces, brothers and sisters. Please turn on your cameras po. Yan. Okay. So, sinong may voluntarily heart nga mag-share? From the participants? Okay, welcome. From 3 to 1. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Ano na lang, this moment, let me share my screen. Oh, nawala siya. Okay. Let me share my screen. So, let's proceed for the wheel of names. Okay? Ta-da! Who will be the lucky one? Okay. You're the lucky one, Kuya Michael. Please give a virtual clap, brothers and sisters.
Evening, brothers and sisters. So yun, back to back na first reflection. Pero ayun, so thank you nga po ulit sa lectures for tonight and as well as the staff. Ayun, so for my reflection, I mean it wasn't really discussed much. Pero in regards nga dito sa sa chapter 3 with the specifically sa section 5 where it talks about tawag na to yung pag-refer sa sa sinabi ni Jesus Christ na bago siya pumanaw na he is saddened by the fact na he cannot say everything or talk about I guess the principle at that time because of the level of intellect as well as spirituality of humanity back then, even with his disciples. And so I fast forward to the present days, which is now, and I mean, sure, given with the time na naglipas and the advancement of civilization as well as technology, tumaas nga naman yung intellect, yung level ng intellect ng tao and spirituality maybe for some, I mean for most people. Pero with the rise of technology as well as yung rin pag further ng progress ng science, people have a lot of people have leaned more onto tawag nito atheism kasi they have been satisfied with the with the knowledge that science has provided. Pero even scientists themselves have said na there's a lot that science can't explain. There's a lot of theories na lang. Yun lang yung limits ng science. And that's where spirituality and religion comes in. Pero yun nga, it's more of kasi yun nga 'di ba? There have been a lot of there's a lot of people na who can't explain why there's something missing in their lives, even though they're, let's say um, on the physical side, they have very fulfilling lives. Like wala silang problema sa pera, walang problema sa pamilya, and even if they're single, or yun nga mga yung mga tawag nun, yung wala silang asawa or partner, wala rin silang anak, yet they still live fulfilling lives, but they still feel like there's something missing in their lives. It's because they don't know the principle. Pero meron rin namang iba na witnessan, pero they reject the idea of the principle. And I think na at this point in time, it's not the level of intellect or spirituality, but more of our attitude. Yun nga, yung willingness natin to accept the principle. Kasi in most cases, there are naman di ba? Parang tawag nun. Like with acquired taste sa pagkain. Some people like durian, some people hate durian. And even though yung if a person who likes durian tells a person who isn't used to the smell even of the durian, they usually reject it, even though you say na it's okay or it tastes good. I think it's the same with religion, pero of course on a different level kasi spiritual yun eh. And I think we just have to reach out to those unwilling people in a way na the divine principle could really tawag na to, penetrate yung shell na subconsciously na develop nila. And there are a lot of factors kung on why they've developed that shell na hindi nila tinatanggap yung principle. Pero naman, I whether they're rejecting it na because they have their own principles, or they reject it because there's a lot of factors. I just hope that bottom line is, I hope that one day we could resolve that issue, and we could really reach out to every single individual in this world, and so that they could also be receiving the blessing that we are also receiving, which is the principle. And that's all. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much po, Kuya Mikael, for that reflection. So, as talaga, as we focus from the last days, especially talaga na mention about the level of our spirituality. So, at the same time, yung natin, depends on what they call this, depends on how we could be able to yung what do you call this, paano natin siya maano yung level ng spirituality natin as individual, 'di ba? So yun yung ni Kuya Mikael. So Kuya Julius, do you have additional for Kuya Mikael reflection po?
yeah, just like what he said, there are many factors. And the one thing I can say is that many don't like to get out to their comfortable life because if uh, our life uh, in taking responsibilities easy, then many will come. But because we have to overcome many things, we are changing our previous lifestyle to this alignment to God's lifestyle, which is 180 degrees different. So like for example, we don't have vices. We don't have this one chapter two. So that's big difficult to overcome for many. I have many classmates before. That's their problem. They like the principle, but they cannot overcome this chapter two problem. So that's the we cannot, yeah, blame them also for that. But in the future, then uh, they have no other way also but to go ultimately go back or to go in the principled way. That's all.
Yes, thank you so much po. Okay, again, let's proceed. Let's share my screen.
Before we'll proceed to the next reflector.
Yes po, kuya.
Uh,
Yun po.
just a follow up to the to Michael. Yeah, we all know that there has been a lot of challenges that we're meeting, and even when we share the principle. But the question that I would like to ask is, as individual, how you can really show a principled lifestyle so that these challenges will not be continuously hurting God and true parents. What are the small moves that you have that you can do and you will do in order for you to at least hindi naman natin sabi na you can stop immediately, but at least little by little ease the pain, kasi all of these challenges is really giving pain to God and true parents within you as individual.
Is that for me to answer?
Yes.
Okay. So, actions that I can take on an individual level to parang relieve the pain that that God has felt. Tama po ba?
Yeah, because you have said that there are many challenges, right? Even
Yes,
accepting the
yes.
principle, there are so many challenges. What are the things that you have already done and you will be continuously doing so that you can become the person that will ease the pain that God is suffering because of these challenges or because of the situation that we have in our community?
Mm. I think the most most easy answer to that is to witness. Pero if I were to remove myself from the position of being a second gen and put myself in the shoes of a first gen who hasn't been introduced to the principle or has just been introduced to the principle, I think I'd start by actually living a life based on the principle. Like every single action that I make, I should be basing it upon the principle, even the words that I say or the thoughts that I think. Kasi that's all, especially with thoughts, because I think that's where it all starts. Because if you think evil naturally, you also speak evil and do evil. So, ayun. Pero yun nga, I think it's witnessing would be the safe answer. Pero yun nga, if on a strictly individual level, like only on myself, living a life of based upon the principle would be and if uh, I would to take every circumstance that I have right now into account, I would say that it's it's that it's pretty difficult to admit, pero in my family, temper, we have it runs in the family. Short temper runs in the family, and so I think I need to work on that. And I by and how I've been working on that is, before I react, I usually I think or I meditate before I react, even with thoughts, kasi it's so easy to to have evil thoughts because it's silent. Nobody can hear it but you. So ayun. And if if we can, I think it's also it can apply universally, because if we overcome that, if we overcome our evil thoughts, that's basically a small part of overcoming our evil minds and restoring our original minds. So I think that's also a good ano, that's also a good move. And yeah, that would be my answer.
Yeah, that's a thought that you can think of. But how about the action?
Well, in regards to the action, um,
The
and I
action
think
that you
I
have
have
the action that you have already done, and you wanted to
done.
enjoy to do it so that you can ease the pain of God and true parents coming from the different circumstances as well. Because what we are, di ba, sabi nga natin, even true father said, divine principle is not the book itself, but
Yes.
it is a way of life that we should have after we learn the principle, so that we can ease the pain, because nobody can ease the pain of God and true parents except us who know the principle. Whether you are second gen or first gen, that's our main responsibility. Do you think so?
Yes. Pero yun nga,
So
on that uh, uh basis sa action, I think yung specific po talaga na nasagot.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
that you can kasi la one of my experience is one second generation when we were doing witnessing, and there is a one church that is really persecuting true father. uh, what she did was to even kneel in front of the pastor and then cried. So if this is how you, sabi nga niya, if this is how you look at Reverend Moon now, that the second coming of the Jesus Christ, if you were if Reverend Moon was in the position of Jesus Christ 2,000 years ago, and you don't know nothing about Jesus Christ, will you do the same thing? And I was so shocked when she really did that she can even really give up everything for the sake of, we can say, protecting God and true parents. And that is just a simple move that he does. And then after that, the pastor really turned everything that uh, he felt that he really, how do you call it? Sabi na natin na sobrang nasaktan, kaya sabi nga niya after that, I'm sorry if I hurt you, but that's not my intention. And I really realized that Reverend Moon is a one person in Korea that is doing a messianic mission. And kung titignan natin, that would change the tide, right? Even just a simple action as that, it can change the whole tide. Kasi talagang in the very beginning, the pastor even shouted at us. And then instead of fighting back, yun yung ginawa nung kasama ko ng second gen. So likewise with us, because what we are doing here is we are now talking about the principle as a way of life that we have. How much we can really stand for the sake of God and true parents amidst the different challenges, amid the different situations that we have, or amidst the environment na sabi natin na not in accordance to the principle, not in accordance to what God wanted, but what we can do, what can we do, and what shall we do, and what are the small acts that we have that can be accumulated so that we can really recreate the environment and the tide that we are in right now. So this is for everybody actually, because we are talking about eschatology, right? Last days, the transformation, the change. So knowing the eschatology, what is it for me? And what should I do now? And what are the small things that I can do now? Para sa ganon, hindi na lang lagi si God ang mag-sacrifice para sa atin, but when can we sacrifice for the sake of God and true parents? So anybody can give some points. Anybody can give some.
Hello.
Yes. Continue po kayo.
Ayun. Yeah. Yun nga. I mean, medyo ano yung situation din eh. Kasi, pero ano po ba yung tawag nun? Yung action na, kasi I wouldn't call it, a simple action. Kasi, and also it's, situational na action. Kasi, if I mean, basically, yung context is, if I were put in a position where I was tested in a way, in regards with with my humility as well as my let's say ano ba yun? Humility as well as conviction towards conviction or faith. Pero if I were put in that exact same situation, I think I wouldn't be able to kneel and cry. Kasi I mean taking part yung yung let's say yung well, what's the right word? Kasi I have a different approach towards and towards well, let's say with
the one that I give is just one example. That's why
one example.
I'm soliciting what are the things that you can do. If you have different approach, how will you do it? How will you change the tide without hurting others? And that's the time that you can really let God be felt by other people and be experienced by other people.
Pero if it were the same if it were the same exact situation we're in, nag-witness ako, and then yung winwitnessan ko is nagkaroon na ng parang violent outburst. Tapos ayun nga po, na dinidemean na si true father or yung principal. I think instead of crying or kneeling, rather I just and if they would give me the chance to speak at all, kasi madalas mahirap yan pagka hindi mo tatapatan yung
Yeah. I
yung level
understand
ng
that.
emotion.
That's why
Yun nga po.
given that
So
scenario, what would be your
I
immediate
think
action that
yeah.
without any other concept of if you are
Okay.
in that real scenario now, what will you do, and how will you address that, and how will you make it in a principled way, so that the person can understand and can feel God's love and God's heart?
Well,
So you
with
as
me,
individual, as hindi lang what we are talking here is not just a concept or not just a consequence, but what is your immediate action that will prove that you can really stand firm for the principle, either humility or whatever. The most important is we are defending God and true parents.
Yes.
We are letting people feel God's presence and true parents' presence.
Well, of course, I'd still humble down myself. That's a given. Kasi you won't be able to reach out or connect with a person on a spiritual level if you fight fire with fire. So of course I'll humble myself down, and of course I'd willingly in bow to them, and I think I'll just say that I'll just apologize if I've saying that I apologize if I've offended you or caused emotional distress, and ayun nga, but I mean no harm. I do not mean to tawag na to, hurt you or talk you down, pero what I'm trying to do is to teach you the divine principle in which I've found the truth, or the new truth, and salvation that I hope to share with you as well. And if you're not in a condition to listen to what I have to share, well then, or if you're not willing at all, well then, I apologize for taking up your time, and hopefully this truth will reach you one way or another. But if you do not wish to seek salvation, I guess, well then, I'll just pray for the best for you, and
I think that's too
I
subjective.
think that's all.
That's too subjective, and it's too
yeah.
you are letting the people in front of you too low. That's why Father always say that the only thing that we can do is to give thanks and forgive and forget. So anyway, thank you, Michael, for that for your answer. I would like to hear from others, because I would like to know how will you practice, because tapos na kayo ng mga seminars, right? You have attended already many seminars before, different seminars. But in this seminar, what we are talking about is how we can really practice the principle, and what are the changes na, kasi like for example ako, pagising ko sa umaga, first thing that I will do is to ayusin ko yung higaan ko, and then after that, I have to pray. I have to give thanks to God. Na hindi ko ginagawa dati yon. Okay. Never na, before joining the movement, I never do that. Even nga ngayon, even before is I never wash the plate of anybody. I never wash plates. Pero ngayon, Because I learned to love others kahit na sabihin naman natin na medyo mahirap maghugas ng plato, lalo pag hindi, wala talaga sa puso mo. But that's the only way that you can express, right? Kaya nga sabi ng mama ko noon is, oh, linalagnat ka yata. Kasi pag umuwi ako, pagkatambak ang hugasan sa bahay, sabi ko, Nay, umupo ka na lang dyan, ako na maghugas. Nay, umupo ka na lang dyan, ako na magluto. Nasabi niya, talagang they were shocked kasi bilang bunso sa amin, hindi ko talaga ginagawa yun when I'm not, hindi ko pa namit ang movement. But after knowing the principle and learning the value of living for the sake of others through service, doon ko na-realize na how important pala. And that's the way, that's the time that I was, hindi ko namamalayan na I'm already winning the heart of my mother. Kaya sabi ko nung sinabi ko sa nanay ko na you have to attend seminar, hindi na siya nagtanong eh. And then even nung sinabi ko na both of you should attend the blessing, hindi na sila nagtanong na bakit kailangan namin mag-attend. But the only thing that they do is, yeah, we will go. And pag umuwi ako noon, dati, pag umuwi ako, galit na galit sila. Pero nung nag-full time na ako, pag umuwi ako, galit na galit pa rin sila. Pero anong difference? Pag umuwi ako nung hindi pa ako member, galit na galit sila kasi sabi niya, buti na tagpuan mo pang daan pa uwi. Eh. Pero nung member na ako, sabi na, mas mabuting hindi mo na alam yung daan pa uwi kasi alam ko mas safe kapag nasa center. Diba? And those are simple changes na pwede natin sabing simple, but it means a lot to a person who really wanted to create a better atmosphere. Yeah, that affects me a lot before. Okay. So those are the things that kasi I've been here for since 1994 when I started giving lecture. I've been hearing a lot of reflection, always talk about the principle, but never na merong nagsabi that ito yung nabago sa akin ng principle. Na kung titignan natin, yan yung inaantay ni Father eh. Kaya when we were translating the Chungsongyong in Chongpyong, the first thing that retains into my mind that touches me a lot is when I read the words of True Father na sabi niya, if there will be somebody among the people who will say, Father, you can now take a rest. Sabi ni Father, my eyes will burst with tears like an ocean. And yun yung gustong gawin ni True Father kay God, right? Sabi niya kay God, God, don't worry. Everything will be set in accordance to your will. Aju? So in this seminar, we are not just looking on how much you understand the principle, but how much we can practice the principle. Okay. Kaya minsan I'm throwing a question. It's not for you to recap what is being discussed, but it is the small wins that you have that others can learn and can experience as well. Okay? Aju? Kasi lagi nila akong tinatanong, ano bang difference ng 21 days ng BFD education with all other 21 days? And this is the difference. And I'm really proud to say that this is the big difference of all other 21 days or other seminars that we have. Do you think so, brothers and sisters? Kaya yun ang lagi kong tinitignan. Yun ang lagi kong even sa UPTA, yun yung lagi naming point of discussion lagi. The application. how much we can apply the principle into our life, and what are the transformation that will say na, wow, because of the principle na bago ako. Okay. And yan lagi yung even before nung nagle-lecture ako, tinatanong, yun lagi tinatanong sa akin, ano yung nabago sa'yo ng principle? Masabi mo, why you are very proud of the principle. Yung vice president, asawa ng vice president ng Eastern Samar State University sa ESO. Nung kasi lagi ako sa bahay nila before. Tapos sabi niya, Doc, bakit di ka umiinom kasi they always serve me drink and yung mga alak. Tapos bakit di ka umiinom? Is it because of your religion or is it because of unification? Sabi ko, it's not. It's because of what I've learned from the unification. Okay. Now, once you will drink wine, you are destroying God's temple. Di ba? Kasi pagka nagkasakit ka, sinong nasisira? Ikaw lang ba? It's God's temple. Because Jesus Christ said, we should become the temple of God. And we are destined to become the temple of God. Kaya since then, pagka pumunta ako ng Katarman noon, they never serve me alak. Ang sinaserve sa akin is either tea or juice. And then hindi ko na namamalayan na dahil sa ganon, pagka nandoon ako, hindi na rin sila umiinom. Di ba? Without knowing, you are influencing and you are transforming the environment. And this is what Father is saying to us. How much we should look and how much we should accept the principle. Okay? Aju? Does it make sense, brothers and sisters? Ang hirap sagutin yung tanong, no? But anyway, I believe we can learn a lot from it. Okay. So expect more questions like that. Now, I will be throwing most of the time. Pagka ano. And wala namang perfect answer eh. Ang importante is how much you have realized. Okay. Marami na nagsabi sa akin pagka marami akong elder na nakakausap, alam ko ng principle. Tapos tanungin ko, Kuya, ano bang mas priority mo pagising mo sa umaga? Mag-thank you kay God or pumunta sa CR at magmumog? Or minsan tinatanong ko, yeah, you already know the principle, Kuya, pero pagka halimbawa nasaktan kita, how would you respond? Diba? So anyway, I hope na from their brothers and sisters, we will not only look at the principle as the divine principle text, but like Father said, it is a way of life so that we can really portray God and true parents in front of the people. Okay. And yan din yung parang yan yung lagi yung sinasabi na that's my failure as a lecturer if I cannot transform the people in front of me when I give lecture. Okay, so any other? Kasi we'd like yung mga kwan kasi yung mga ganon kasi is that would be a great lesson to our lecturers that they can learn, and from there they can also with your permission, I hope that it will not be only for you, that we can use it also as an example to other brothers and sisters so that we can also transform them. Because this is very important, right? Aju?
Aju.
Yeah. So any more who wanted to share the small wins? Kanina ang nano si Catherine, right? Si Catherine yung sa...
Yes po, Kuya.
Hi, Cathy. Sige, you can proceed.
Hi, Doc. Good evening, Doc.
Hala, bakit ako lang? Ang dami natin.
Good evening, brothers
Okay lang,
and sisters. Good evening po sa lahat.
Hello.
Hello, Doc. Ano yan, Doc? Ano yung tanong niyo, Doc? Sagutin ko rin yung yung tanong niyo.
Yep. If you
Kung
can
paano
share
nabago?
something, yeah. If you can share something so that others can learn, that would be great.
Okay. Nung dati, nung hindi pa ako ma-attend dun sa seminar nyo, to be honest, hindi ko alam yung yung nilalaman nung Bible. Kahit na sabihin kong nagsisimba ako every Sunday. Pero since nung umattend ako sa inyo, nung seminars, dun ko yung mga topic nyo. So, kada nun, titignan ko yung verse na sinasabi nyo, tapos titignan ko siya sa Bible kung yun nga talaga yun. So, ayun. Simula nun, natuto kong mas maging palabasa. Yun ang masasabi ko. Tsaka, para sa akin, mas natuto rin akong maging makontento kung ano meron ako ngayon. Na, sabi nga nila, hindi mo naman madadala yung kung ano yung yaman mo or pagkaka. So, yun, Doc. Doc, hello?
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Thank you very much, Kathy. Let's give a
thank you,
hand
Doc.
kay Michael saka kay Kathy.
Thank you po.
So, who will be next? Manina.
Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, please welcome Ate Mary.
Good evening po, brothers and sisters. Siguro po, ang masishare ko lang po is yung sinabi po ni Sir Randy pa.
Yes.
And siguro po, ang masishare ko lang po is about doon kung paano po ma-apply yung yung principle sa life. Just like po kay Ate Catherine po na naging kontento sa kung anong meron po ako. And then just like po sa sinabi ni Sir na yung sa hindi niya namamalayan na nakaka-influence pala siya sa sa paligid niya po. So, ako din po, naka-experience din po ako ng ganun. Kasi, ako, ayaw ko po kasi ng ayaw po namin ng, yung magsasalita ng bad word po. Ganun yung, paano ba, ang tawag doon? Yung
cursing.
Yeah, just like that po. Pag meron po kasi kami sa school po namin, ganon. Marami po kasing nagsasabi ng ganon na word. So pag naririnig kasi namin, palagi po namin nasabi, wag ka magsalita ng ganyan kasi bad yan. Ganon po namin. So hanggang sa na-realize na namin, bakit di ko na siya naririnig na nagsalita ng ganon. Sabi ko, ba't di ka na nagsasalita ng ganon? Sabi niya po na, di ba ayaw mo ng ganon, ayaw mo makarinig ng ganon. So, ay na-realize ko din po na okay, nakapag-influence din po pala ako sa sa paligid ko. That's all lang po. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much po, Ate Mary J. For that, let's proceed for the next section. Let's welcome Ate Rochi.
Ayan. Okay, good evening, elders, brothers, and sisters.
Good
So,
evening.
ay po.
Good
Okay.
evening.
Good evening po, Sir Randy. And kilala ko si Sir Randy. Kasi kilala niya yung uncle ko. Okay.
Wala, sino?
Ano po? Reynaldo
Si...
Estose, kuya. Kuya Ray.
Ha? Pamangkin ka ni Kuya Ray? Ba?
Opo.
From
Sa Buenavista?
Ayun.
Cavite.
Buenavista?
Mm-mm.
From Buenavista
Oo.
ka? Sa Bohol?
Opo, di ba sa Cebu ka
nakita
dati,
doon.
kuya?
Oo. Sige, sige.
So, ayun. Last days. So, parang, yun nga, naririnig ko sa ibang tao na pag last days, guguho yung mundo. But, nung na-learn ko yung principle, so paano mag-change yung attitude mo na nalaman mo yung principle. So, kaya sa akin, sa sarili ko na, parang naiintindihan natin yung principle, pero pinapractice mo ba yung na-learn mo sa principle? So, I always observe sa sarili ko na I want to show to other people na paano yung iba yung way of life ko na sinusunod yung principle kaysa sa wala. So parang lagi kong ino-observe yung ko na dapat may makita silang iba sa akin na iba yung kinaugalian ko kaysa sa kanila. So, ayan. Then, spiritually, sa lecture kasi di ba kanina na in order to change check your spirituality or spiritual life. So, since me, yung uncle ko is very strong talaga sa principle. But sa akin, ako naman yung parang tinatry yung best na ma-practice yung tinuturo niya sa amin. So, yun lang yung ko na always kami nire-remind ng uncle ko na ipakita nyo sa ibang tao na through the divine principle na bago kayo, yung parang ganun. So, ayun, yung may mga kaibigan naman tayo na, lagi nila that time na pag hindi naman maiwasan ng mga kaibigan mo is hindi talaga alam yung principle, and then, i-invite ka nila ng ganito, natural lang dito na mag-inom, yung ganun. Pero sa akin, hindi. So, parang, inaano ko sa kanila na hindi pwede, yung parang ganun. But, and then, yun, magtataka sila na bakit hindi pwede, yung parang ganun. So, since hindi pa masyado deep yung understanding ko sa divine principle, and then, yung spiritual life ko, napakababaw, yung parang ganun, na hindi pa totally na kayang sa ibang tao. So, since tinanong kanina na yung experience ko, so I don't, yung mission. So, witnessing. Nakatry ako nun. Naalala ko, kasi pinag-uusapan din sa last days yung religion, right? So, paano mo yung truth sa ibang tao. So, since that time, na-assign ako ng witnessing. And then, alam mo yung na lang din sa kanila na i-persecute yung religion. So, that time, na nag-witnessing kami, and then, sinishare yung situation. But then, iba yung impact sa kanya kay Chupado na. Wait lang. Sabi ko, paano ko siya
No, wala si ate. Okay. Ate Rachi. Na-mute. Please unmute po ate. Unmute. Unmute yourself po.
Ayan, nawala yung connection ko. Sige po. Ayun po, then, no, since sa witnessing naman is we really try to share the principle or the truth to other people, di ba? So, since, yun, mag-share ko sa kanya ng truth, yung parang nagkaroon kami, parang tumaas yung dugo niya, yung ganun. So, sabi niya, kultoy si Father Moon, ganyan talaga yung mga Moonis, ganun. So, parang pinersecute niya si True Father. So, that time, syempre, na-hurt ako kasi, parang, wow, parang andali mo naman i-judge yung tao. Parang, kilala mo ba si Father Moon? So, parang, kilalanin niyo po muna, bago niyo po pagsalitaan ng mga, kasi since na hindi mo pa naman kilala yung tao or na pinipersecute mo na tao, so, ayun, kilalanin niyo muna po bago kayo mag-judge or aralin niyo po muna yung teaching niya. So, yun lang po yung sinabi ko sa kanya and then, ayun, so parang sabihin ko na lang na, okay, we have our own religion, pero sana naman po, respeto lang po sa bawat respect na yun yung nakalakihan mong truth, pero you can open yung mind mo na mag-embrace ng new truth, ng truth, yung words ni God. So, yun lang yung that time na nag-mission ako. But then, this time, ayan, so, kasi, nag-end ako ng I just do the mission 3 years ago. And then, nag-aral. Then, ngayon, nag-work. So, one day, everyday kasi ako nag-a-attend ng yung Hondo kay NL, National Leader. Kahit so, every time na nakikinig ako ng mga message niya, parang, I always, parang, oo nga, parang may ginagawa ako sa providence ni God. Especially the restoration na since I'm still fallen person, so paano ko ma-change yung sarili ko? So, one thing siguro na nasasabi ko na nagbabago sa sarili ko na parang I feel, parang hindi ako okay na, or lagi ako nagsasabi, God, sorry kung hindi ako maka-attend ng Hunduki ngayon, ganun. Kasi, may yung parang pasok sa school. And then, parang kasi, parang pag hindi ka nakapag-hundok parang kulang yung yung araw mo. Then, iba siya sa pag naka-receive ka ng words of God every morning or inspiration na So, ngayon, inaano ko yung sarili ko na I always join the Hundoke every day. Yun yung ginugol ko sa sarili ko this time. And one day, nakaisip din ako na, paano kaya pag mag-mission ako ulit? Parang ganun. Kasi I really, see how our elders, leaders, brothers and sisters work for God's providence. Na parang ako, alam ko yung na nag-i-exist yung providence na nag-work, pero ako sa sarili ko, wala akong ginagawang contribution to work with the providence. So naisipan ko na mag-mission kaya ako ulit para naman hindi lang na may magagawa ako sa providence ni God. So maybe that's all, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much po.
We're opening soon the third batch of UPTA. You can inquire with Herwin and with other UPTA students, graduates and students ng UPTA. We'll be opening soon. And our national leader already said na once we will be opening, there will be a memo that will be sent to all regions. And I hope na you will consider discovering more through joining our team. Kasi pwede ka naman mag-mission kahit hindi ka mag full-time. And yun yung opportunity na ino-open namin sa BFD Education because right now, we really needed a lot of lectures. Yung gabi na session natin, meron nang nagre-request nga ng day session. Kaya baka we will be opening later on yung morning and afternoon session, tapos night session. So shifting schedule na. And we needed a lot of lecturers. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much, Roch. Dalawa na lang.
Okay.
Mini-mini mo. Head or tail.
Gusto nila mag-volunteer, sir.
Baka. Okay, volunteer na lang po daw. Si Ate Jenna na lang po yung naiwan at saka si Ate Nelgy po. Sino po mauna sa inyo? Yellow or
According
green?
to alphabet?
Si Miss Je.
By alphabet? By alphabet, pabaliktad.
Okay, please welcome Ate Nelgy.
Nice one, Kuya Randy. Hi, good evening, brothers and sisters. Hi.
Hello.
Hi po. Good evening po. I would like to answer yung question po ni Kuya Randy, like, ano yung nabago? Yeah. Gusto ko lang siyang i-share. Yeah, wala bang mag-share ako. Paano ba? Siguro yung sa akin po is like, more on that, yung sa about 30. Kasi di ba po, mga kabataan is like more on, tawag na to, binibig nila yung pagbo-boyfriend or what, ganon. Simula po nung na-meet ko yung movement.
Bakit nga ba ganun tayo mga kabataan, no?
Ewan ko po, Kuya Randy, di ko rin sila naiintindihan kung ano priority nila sa buhay. Ayun po. Yun po. Siguro yun po yung isa sa medyo na enlighten ako, like, hindi, kailangan mo talaga muna ma-perfect yung sarili mo bago ka pumasok sa ganung bagay. Like, at saka, parang, hindi naman siya aalis, lol. Hindi naman siya aalis. Bye. Ayun po. Yun, siguro yun po yung isa sa like, hindi naman sa walang pakialam sa bagay na yun, pero parang nagpo-focus muna sa sarili muna bago pumasok sa relationship na yun. And then, yan po, isa din po yung sa shinare ng pinsan ko, si Mary Jaya. Yung sa about sa pagmumura. Ha? Di mahal. Yun. Yung sa pagmumura po. Like, pag syempre, yun nga, sa mga kaibigan, kaklase, like, marami kami, ay, napiyak nga. Maraming, mga ganon talaga. Pero, pag ganon kasi sinasabi, uy, masama yun, nagmumura ka, ganon. So, pag nasa paligid nila ako, hindi po sila nagmumura. Mga plastic po sila. Pero pag wala po ako, puro mura sila, ganon po. Pero okay na yun. At least may respect po sila sa akin na pag nandyan ako, hindi sila nagmumura. Kasi, alam nilang nagagalit ako. Hindi naman nagagalit. Like, lang. Ayun lang po. Siguro ang masishare ko sa ngayon. Yun lang. Thank you po.
Isan ko kay ate Apple tong link, ha?
Ate Apple po! Ay, naku po, Kuya Randy.
Tong link na to para matuwa siya.
Amen, Kuya Randy. Oh my God, ayaw ka na. Thank you po. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much po, Ate Nelgy po. For now, please help me to welcome our last but not the least, Ate Jenna. Please give hand, brothers and sisters.
Good evening, parents. Good evening po, Sir Randy. Good evening, brothers and sisters. So, what should I, So actually, I didn't hear that much of we're traveling back to the center. But then, I would like to reflect sa mga narinig ko din po na reflection ninyo. Ngayon, ano yung mga nabago, no? After I received the principle. So in my 2 years of of ano yun, in my 2 years here in the movement. Yeah. So a lot of things, no, a lot of things, um, especially in attitude. So before, I am a kind of person na masyadong competitive, masyadong selfish, yeah, in some ways. Selfish, especially in studies, ganon. And also, I don't mingle so much with other people. I don't interact sa ibang tao, ganun. And I'm so focused with myself and my family, ganun lang. And then, now, because of my mission in HTM, I learned to communicate with other people. I learned to parang mas intindihin sila, hindi yung sarili ko. Mas isipin yung kapakanan nila, hindi yung sarili ko. So, also persecutions in the front line, but then I always put myself to them na they don't understand yet, and nasabi lang na yun because di nila naintindihan, yun lang. And then I need to have patience, and I need to really have empathy to them. So yun mga sa mga bagay na talagang I'm grateful kasi itong mga bagay na to hindi to si Jennifer noon hindi to si Jenna noon, parang something like that. So another thing is my perspective in love. Love is lang, parang yun, in love ka, I mean, nakagusto ka, you admired someone, and then parang tumibok yung puso mo, ganun lang. But then, knowing the principle, di pala ganun, no? Love is not just by emotion, it is by principle. No? Kaya how I change myself is, syempre, practicing, I mean, not so much, first kasi mangyayari sa isip and then to the point that it become it is what we do ang naisaisip natin, kaya ayun na hindi naman I don't practice so much in mga relationship ganyan. But then, how I help, mga young people, especially sa mga kapatid ko, na noon, tinotolerate ko lang sila, ganyan, magkagusto, magsuot ng sobrang ikli, kahit hindi naman appropriate yung makeup, ayan, hinahayaan ko lang sila. But then now, knowing the principle, I become focused on the motivation of the person, and na lang sa ibang tao, kundi sa sarili ko din, what is my motivation of doing these things? So, I always think of motivation, and syempre, the top of it is the relationship to God, no? Kasi noon talaga, I'm not an internal person. And then, di maririnig ng ibang tao yung, mga words of God, ganyan. So by, dito sa movement and din sa principle, it helps me to pray, to pray more, and also and also to live for others. Kasi I'm the kind of person talaga noon na bahala kayo ganyan. Pero ngayon parang there's a lot of things happen in that kind of me na situation. Kaya ayun, yeah, so I'm sorry talaga kasi hindi ko din, yun lang yung reflection ko then. I'm sorry kasi every Thursday, malate talaga ako since we have our HTM committee meeting in NTC, and I need to be there also as secretary of our HTM Japanese partners. Kaya, ayun, gusto ko lang, Kuya Herwan talaga palagi ko siyang chinachat. Ayoko ding malate, ayoko ding maging irresponsible in my commitment to this seminar. Ayan, so, yun, thank you so much for all your efforts and hard works. Yun lang po.
Yes, thank you so much po, Ate Jenna, po, for that amazing reflection po. So, knowing the principle before especially myself, before I met the movement, is talaga siya, is changes. May talaga siya, changes before and after. So, yung mga individual, po natin talaga, individual realization at the same time, we could be able to also practice this, especially if we start attending and we could be able to really ano din share this especially to those brothers and sisters na hindi pa alam yung principle. So for that ano talaga for the brothers and sisters na ano pa sila yung at the young age pa nga na-invite sila sa movement. So we're very lucky. So because before me also my uncle invite me before when I'm in high school. So way back 2000 something. Then, hindi ako nagsiseryoso. Yeah, yun yung katulad sa mga ibang experience. Hindi ako nagsiseryoso na ano ng divine principle. Sabi nga ng tito ko, okay, read this book, especially yung 1 hour, 100 times, then 3 hour, 100 times also the, 10 hours. But, wala akong natapos noon. So, ganun yung ano ko talaga. Yung iba yung ano, especially if nandun ka sa labas, if hindi ka nag full time. So for me, this time it's not too late for me to learn more about the principle. So yun, let's learn together for that also. So yun siya, brothers and sisters. Then kay Julius, do you have it's already 10:06 no? Nag-exist na tayo ng oras. Okay lang ba sa inyo, brothers and sisters? Nag-exist na tayo ng oras po. Okay. Kuya Julius, do you have to say something po? Okay. Yeah, attendance daw po. Okay na lang po reminders. May pinost po ako dito sa ano natin, sa my group chat natin. Okay. Last po, may ano po ako, all participants must be registered from this. So, from me, memo from IHQ. So, ito I will read. Good morning. We'd like to share this memo from IHQ about the Blessing Festival this coming March 20. There are no final details yet, but we are hoping that we can maximize the information provided to invite more blessed families and young people to join the online activity. So, please let them fill out the pre-registration form so that we can include them in our list. Looking forward to your full cooperation and support on this endeavor. So, ito yung registration link. So, may sinend na po ako sa group chat. So, yan, pakiano na lang po sa inyo. So, hindi pa po naka-fill up, please po, para mano tayo, para matapos. Then, lastly, before I forgot, let's open our cameras. Kung mga camera natin, let's take a picture. Okay. And also, don't forget to subscribe pala sa atong Universal Principle Training Academy sa YouTube.
Na di ay si Bea diya.
Sir Herwin, nawawala. Ikaw na lang ang
Oh, wait. There's something wrong with my Microsoft Word. Ate Bea, could you please take a picture?
Yeah, sure. Kuya Herwin, Mommy, please open your camera so you will be included in the picture taking. Ayo.
Paano yung mga nasa YouTube, hindi sila masama?
Smile na lang kayo virtually, brothers and sisters. We will all smile for you. Okay. Hello, Mom. Okay. Anyway, we're taking so much time. So this is your responsibility. Please give your best smiles, brothers and sisters. And to set, smile. Teka lang. Okay. Another one, brothers and sisters. Hibaragi siya ng sunflower pose. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. Thank you so much. Another one, brothers and sisters. The small heart. Small heart. 1, 2, 3. Smile. Okay. And then last one. Vision 2027, 5, 6, Hanadul said.
Suni, Suni, Suni.
Thank you so much, brothers and sisters.
Yes, thank you so much po to them. So, yun, brothers and sisters, thank you so much po. Hope you learned some for this lecture for this day. Then, I will send the reflection form. So, please be sent on time. Yan na po. Thank you so much. I already checked the attendance. So, bye, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much po. Good night.
Night.
Good night po sa
Everyone.
lahat. Thank you po sa lecturers and staff.
Thank you. Welcome po. Bye, everyone. Di ko mas... Sorry, before anything else, sorry. I forgot. Let's have our closing prayer. Sorry po. Let's have our, may I request Kuya Julius to lead the closing prayer.
Okay, let us pray. Our loving Heavenly Parent and our victorious true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, good evening. We are so grateful for this evening as we have this lecture on chapter 3 of the Divine Principle on Eschatology and Human History. We are so grateful for enlightenment with regards to this topic and more importantly, how we apply the principle in our day-to-day life, how we could bring about changes in our day-to-day life, centering on your ideals. And we are so grateful for this moment as we have our true parents as the turning point that we could really be able to transform ourselves to the original sinless state, because only the true parents could remove our original sin, and that would be the start that could ultimately realize your substantial kingdom of heaven here on earth. And we have to bring about these blessings, share these blessings and ideals to our tribes, and we have to fulfill that, to contribute to bring about the substantial kingdom of heaven here on earth. And we have to unite with our true mother's vision, with based on the foundation of absolute faith, absolute love, and absolute obedience. And we have always reflect on how we could embody the principle in our day-to-day life, and how we could be able to also give life to the people through the manifestation in our day-to-day life. And we are so grateful for always giving us chances and opportunities that we could study your words. And we have to always prepare ourselves in especially in dealing and fulfilling our missions. And again, we thank you for this evening and for everything, for all the love and blessings that you have always provided to each and every one of us. I'd like to offer this with gratefulness and report my name, my wife's name, Julius and Tammy Esclitos and Clubmanship family. Aju.
Aju. Yes, thank you so much po. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much
Good
po,
night.
participants. Thank you, Atrelina, Julius, Randy, brothers and sisters. Thank you, Ate Selvia. Thank you, Belle.
Good night po.
Good night.
Good night.
Pasensya na po, nakalimutan ko po talaga. Good night po sa lahat. Ate Relina, thank you. Ate Rachel, Ate Sabia. Talag daw yan.